In Venezuela, social and political organizations installed the cycle of debates and national consultation for the elaboration of the 2024 presidential elections schedule. In Palestine, Israel's genocidal operation against Gaza continues on its 122nd day. Occupation forces continue shelling the region, especially the city of Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis. And in Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz underlined the importance of closing a long-stalled European Union trade deal with South America's Mercosur bloc. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, several social and political organizations installed the cycle of debates and national consultation for the elaboration of the timetable to open the way to the presidential elections of 2024. The president of the National Assembly, Congressman Jorge Rodriguez, reaffirmed that this year 2024 presidential elections will be held in Venezuela after the National Electoral Council convenes the voting date. Rodriguez highlighted that the consultation will allow all the sectors of the country to exchange opinions and positions that will be integrated to a proposal for an electoral calendar. The head of the parliament emphasized that the proposal strengthens democracy and that the candidates will set a position to build a roadmap that will serve as a suggestion to the electoral power.
In spite of the manipulations that have been noted in some of the media, let us, you and all of us, be certain that this year, 2024, as our Constitution states, the corresponding presidential elections will be held so that the person elected by the people of Venezuela as constitutional president of our republic will take office on January 10, 2025.
During his speech with high representatives of different political parties of the country, Congressman Jorge Rodriguez emphasized the importance of the positions that will allow the design of an electoral calendar.
And why are we here today? Today we are here to exchange opinions, positions that will allow us to land a proposal for an electoral calendar. What do our laws say? What does our Constitution say? The Republic, autonomous power of the Republic, is the electoral power. It is in charge of the elaboration of the electoral schedule and of the official convocation of the presidential electoral event.
The opposition representative Javier Bertucci, after exchanging opinions on the proposed electoral calendar, affirmed that the pre-candidates to run for the presidential elections must be entirely qualified.
All of the pre-candidates must make sure that we are fully qualified to be candidates and offer without playing with the hopes of the people candidates who can exercise these positions from the National Electoral Council.
In this context, the president of the Pencil Alliance, Antonio Ecarri, affirmed that sanctions must be rejected and emphasized the importance of international observation to guarantee the elections.
Without excluding anyone, it is that between all of us, this is the only way to achieve an electoral process that generates stability for Venezuela, so that the pockets of Venezuelans, and especially those of Venezuelan children and the most vulnerable, are never touched again. And of course, the total rejection of any sanctions mechanism against Venezuela. Because political problems are one thing and the pockets of the Venezuelans are another. That is why the presence of a guarantee of international observation is so important.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro described as successful the public consultation called for by the National Assembly. The Venezuelan head of state indicated the consultation began on a good footing and affirmed that it will serve to submit an electoral schedule to the National Electoral Council for the best implementation and organization of the 2024 presidential elections. Maduro stressed that once the electoral body determines the definitive date, the elections will be held despite any attempt to destabilize or impede them. The president praised the candidates and pre-candidates' ideas and proposals to set up this schedule and reiterated that the dialogue and the national consensus were the main ways to guarantee the stability of the country.
The national public consultation called for by the Assembly on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was a complete success on Monday. It got off to a good start with the participation of the vast majority of the presidential pre-candidates. 90% of the legally registered political parties that have a card in the CNE participated, and they will participate in these elections. I think there have been good proposals. The participating presidential candidates and pre-candidates
los candidatos presidenciales y precandidatos participantes hicieron propuestas
made proposals for dates for issues of organization and logistics. I think this is the method. The method is the national dialogue, the national consensus, the national understanding.
El entendimiento nacional.
The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, affirmed that presidential elections will be held in the country this year, 2024, despite any difficulty.
Este año 2024
This 2024 is a year of presidential elections. Some do not want there to be elections. And I modestly tell them, seeing the success of this public consultation from the National Assembly, for the chronogram, the proposed electoral chronogram will be published. So that the CNE may definitely decide the date of the chronogram and the date of the elections. I say it modestly, from my heart and with all the strength and power that the people can give me. In 2024, come hell or high water, there will be presidential elections as required by the Constitution. And neither the last names that people can give me, neither the surnames, nor the tantrum, nor the sabotage will stop the elections in Venezuela. No one will be able to stop the people of Venezuela.
After 70% of the general elections votes were counted in El Salvador, the nation's Supreme Electoral Court announced that the remaining 30% will be counted manually due to system failures. The electoral body explained that the technical failures have forced a manual counting for the remaining presidential votes, while in the case of the legislative elections, 100% of the ballots will be counted one by one. Experts anticipate that due to these difficulties, the vote count will be delayed. Opposition parties denounced the low election turnout, the duplication of votes, and the abuse of power by the ruling party. They said the elections were carried out with accusations of human rights violations by the government, as well as with an indefinite state of emergency. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Haiti, one of the victims of the forced displacement that the country is experiencing due to the violence of the paramilitary groups, tell us about her experience during these 6 months. Let's listen.
Over 6 months ago, criminals forced us from our homes in Cafufe. It is not easy for me being elderly and sleeping right here. I have not eaten anything today. We have no one to visit or help us. We don't have soap or anything we need. This is misery. Who can sleep like this? We want to eat, but what can you find? Maybe if you are lucky, a piece of bread. They burned our homes in our neighborhood in Cafufe. Look how we live now. I'm a grandmother. We have been like this for 6 months. Our children cannot even go to school. We have nothing.
Uruguayan Workers' Union rejects the visit to the country of Laura Richardson, head of the United States Southern Command. The union declared that they reject the visit of General Richardson since she represents a country that is trying to dominate the world. They added that the real purpose of her visit is the interest in the fresh water that Uruguay shares in the Guarani aquifer, as well as the possibility of creating a military base in national territory. They also condemned Washington's support to Israel's genocidal military campaign in Gaza. In Argentina, dozens gathered in the vicinity of the Human Capital Ministry, headed by Sandra Petovelo, to demand food. The line stretched for more than 20 blocks in the midst of social movements' struggle with the government following the announcement of the suspension of the shipment of dry food in order to transfer money to soup kitchens. However, social organizations in charge denounced that the government didn't send any money during the month of January. The protest is carried out simultaneously in offices of the Secretariat of Childhood and Family all over the country. Likewise, the church warned about the food crisis in a harsh statement. In Gaza, nearly 27,500 Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli offensive. According to a report by the Gaza Health Ministry, some 27,500 Palestinians have died since the beginning of the Israeli military offensive, 113 of them in the last 24 hours. In addition, the health system is facing a new collapse after the Israeli occupation forces put 30 hospitals in the Gaza Strip out of service. In addition, a major part of the medical assistance delivered to the Palestinian people is COVID-19 kits, which the health system does not need it. At the same time, artillery fire by the Israeli army has been reported against the town of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. This Monday, Palestine completed 122 days under Israeli siege. In the morning, occupation forces shelled several regions of Gaza, especially in the city of Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis. According to local media, different neighborhoods of the town of Khan Yunis and the southern part of the Gaza Strip leading to the city of Rafah are under constant Israeli artillery strikes. At the same time, Al-Amal and Kamal Nasser hospitals continue to be under siege by the Zionist forces, while drones open fire on Palestinians. Likewise, the Nusayrat camp in the city of Deir al-Balah was also targeted by Tel Aviv's attacks. Since October 7th, the death toll has risen to more than 27,500, most of whom are women and children. In the north of the Gaza Strip, the damage left by the Israeli forces is uncountable. All that remains is scorched earth. An exclusive material of our collaborator Mohammed El Saife shows better what happened in the Town 1 area.
Nobody has come here for more than 90 days. That is to say, since the beginning of the war, nobody has come back here. People started to come here 2 days ago. People are trying to return to their houses and homes, to their land. The area is, as you are seeing it, pure destruction and rubble. There is nothing left. There are no trees. There are no animals. They have no compassion for people, the trees or the animals. It is something that cannot be described. God willing, we will return. We will return. We will make tents. On the rubble, we will raise tents to live. Where there is partial destruction, we will live in spite of the destruction. Where else will we go? We will go neither to Sanaya nor Nekab. Here we will stay resisting with the favor of God, with the permission of the only and almighty God. Since the beginning of the war, the people have been returning for 3 days to see how their houses and lands are. They left nothing. I have a neighbor who had planted onions. Even the onions were destroyed. They destroyed everything that was on the land with their bulldozers.
Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei called on Muslim nations to cut economic ties with Israel. His comments come as the US and Britain struck more Houthi targets in Yemen in a second wave of assaults.
The elite, namely scholars, politicians, and journalists, are seeing what is happening in Gaza. They are seeing what a blow America is dealing to humanity by supporting the Zionist regime. They must create public demand to make inevitable for governments to deal the decisive blow to the Zionist regime. What is that decisive blow? We're not asking them to enter war with Israel, because they won't. And it's not possible to do so for many of them. But they can cut economic ties with Israel.
18 Palestinian children in need of medical care arrived on Monday morning at the Italian port of La Spezia from the Italian Navy ship Volcano. The young patients will be distributed among medical facilities in Bologna, Florence, Genoa and Rome, as was the case for the first 10 children welcomed to Italy on January 29th. Some children had sustained severe injuries and were unable to walk, but all of them were stabilized and none was reported to be in life-threatening danger. Italian Foreign Affairs Minister and Deputy Prime Minister Antonio Tajani said the operation would host 100 Palestinian children in Italian hospitals and added that he hoped there would be more. In Syria, at least 6 mercenaries from Syria's opposition democratic forces were killed after a confirmed attack by the Iraqi Islamic resistance in response to the recent attacks by the United States. According to sources, the casualties suffered by the U.S.-backed militia occurred in the Al Omar oil field in the northeastern province of Deir ez-Zor, whose facilities are occupied by and used by Pentagon forces. The attack was carried out with drones in response to the recent attacks by the United States Army fighter bombers against points of the Syrian army and its allies. At least 15 Washington military bases are illegally in Syrian territory and have been denounced by the government of Damascus for generating death, destruction in infrastructures, and encouraging terrorist attacks in the territory. Syria has warned on several occasions that the presence of American troops seeks to destabilize and deprive the nation of its wealth. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news, coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz underlined the importance of closing a long-stalled European Union trade deal with South America's Mercosur bloc, saying it carried strategic significance and would boost Europe's growth prospects. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's statement highlighted the need of such agreements because they are of great geostrategic importance. Scholz also added that the influence of these countries is increasing and that of Europe is decreasing, while on the other hand, they must find a way to improve the economic growth prospects of the continent. But France Prime Minister Gabriel Attal, speaking at the same press conference, insisted that the conditions are not met for an agreement with Mercosur. And the agreement with South America has recently met with fierce resistance from farmers across Europe who have blocked roads to protest their improved incomes and conditions.
I think we all agree that we need such agreements because they are of great geostrategic importance. It is not acceptable for us to complain on the one hand that the influence of certain countries is increasing and that of Europe is decreasing, and on the other hand for us not to find ways of improving the prospects for economic growth on our continent through good cooperation, including in economic relations. Negotiations with the Mercosur countries have been going on for 20 years now, and they need to be concluded.
For his part, Prime Minister Gabriel Attal stated that for France, the conditions for this agreement are not yet met.
There are agreements from which, from France's point of view, the conditions have not been met. And I'll say it again. From France's point of view, as the President of the Republic has said, and as I have also had occasion to say, the conditions for the Mercosur agreement have not been met.
Dozens of Italian farmers in a tractor's convoy started gathering Monday on the edge of Rome, vowing a major demonstration to put pressure on the government to improve their working conditions. Around 50 tractors from Tuscany headed towards the Via Nomentana, a main road into the central Rome, where they were expected Monday evening. Between 1,500 and 2,000 tractors are expected by Friday. The farmers are demanding a meeting with a government minister. They complain that their products are being undercut by cheaper imports from areas outside the European Union, such as North Africa. They are also rejecting rising fuel costs and the impact of the European Union measures designed to protect the environment and counter climate change. Giant tortoises return to Madagascar 600 years after their extinction, thanks to a project to return these 350-kilogram animals to their natural habitat. The first group of Aldabra giant tortoises was brought back from the Seychelles Islands in 2018 and has since reproduced on its own. According to researchers, the reintroduction of these tortoises will help restore the island's forests, grasslands and scrublands and could help prevent large forest fires. The Aldabra giant is the second largest land tortoise species in the world, after the Galapagos giant tortoise. This species can live for 100 years. In China, as the countdown to the new year begins, anticipation is growing for the Spring Festival Gala 2024, which puts the spotlight on the extraordinary stories of ordinary people. Each year, the Spring Festival Gala, organized by China Media Group, has become synonymous with the traditional celebrations. After concluding the fourth rehearsal, guests in the dazzling studio hall were deeply moved. They consider the gala fosters a sense of unity and joy among viewers. Since its inception in 1983, the gala, also known as Chongwan in Chinese, has become a cultural symbol of Chinese New Year celebrations. The most watched television program in China has become an integral part of the festive season, attracting millions of Chinese and foreign viewers.
The rehearsal was well organized, with everything going on efficiently. The performances are really touching and closely linked to our everyday life. I would definitely give a thumb up to the Spring Festival Gala for the Year of the Dragon.
We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.